Peace, family. How you doing? It's Mr. R2 here at Consistency is Currency, your morning podcast of choice. I know that we are a lot earlier, just 30 minutes early, just a little bit earlier than what we're normally programmed for. But we're gonna get through it. For those that show up, they show up. Those that are not here, you can catch it on the replay. But today we're going to be dropping some jewels, but always, again, I will always show you gratitude and say thank you. I appreciate you. For those that are here, I thank you 1000%. For those that are coming, I thank you 2000%. Not you get a little bit more than everybody else, but I just want to thank you for just wanting to be involved and to know about what is going on, what we're communicating about here at Consistency is Currency, the podcast. So if you're watching it on Facebook Live or you're watching it on YouTube, I appreciate you. If you're just listening to it, the podcast space, whether you're listening on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Facebook Podcasts, what's the other one? Anchor. I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you because you don't have to be here. You can be anywhere else, but you're right here with me and we're here together. So I thank you 1000. All right. So today we're going to jump into something just a little bit. We're not going to be on long. Why? Because I know I got something to do, but I had to backwards plan where I wanted to go in order for me to get to where I need to be at a particular time. So I had to get on just a little bit early, but we're not going to waste your time because I don't believe in wasting time. I believe in using time efficiently. So because we're going to use time efficiently, I want to ensure that you get the information and then you can allow the information to be used for your good when you need that particular thing. Peace. Good morning, Miss Selena. Man, you up early. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So behind once. Now, I could give you the backstory of where it came from, but I'm not. I'm gonna save all of that backstory for when we get into the deep dive, and I'm gonna give you all the backstory, and then I'm gonna close it out at the deep dive. But again, good morning, and I am so excited for you to be here. And yeah, let's go ahead and jump. All right, so like always, you're gonna get definitions, you get the inversions and things of that nature. But I just want you to really pay attention to the science behind once. Because a lot of times the science behind once is really what we make it out to be. And we have utilized or used the word once as a crutch. And because we use the word once as a crutch, we have begun to put ourselves in a position to where we do not make it happen because of the crutch word of once. All right. So before we really begin, I want you to put the word once inside the chat because I want you to, once you type it and once you see it, then I want you to say, okay, I get it. So as we continue through this lesson, the things that stick with you or the things that resonate with you, go ahead and put it inside the chat because that's the same thing that could be resonating with someone else. So let's go ahead and jump. So the definition of once, it says at some time in the past, formerly. So the inversion on this actually can go both ways. So let's start with red over white, and then I will speak about white over red. Because when we get to the deep dive, this inversion is really going to help you to understand the behind once. So the inversion of red over white, it says at some time. And the inversion of white over red, it says in the past and formerly. So at some time and in the past and formerly. And the second definition of once, it says as soon as and when. Again, this inversion can go both ways, but we're going to pay attention to the red over white, which is when. Of course, we can also use the as soon as if we want to, but I don't want to because we already used this in the very first definition was at some time, at some time. And this one is as soon as. So it can play, once can play a trick on you. It really can. And the reason why I say once can play a trick on you, it can play a trick on your concept of what you want to do, because you're saying once I, or once when, whatever it is, it can begin to impede your travel because you're using that crutch word. I call once a crutch word because it can be the crutch that either can catapult you in a direction that you're going to resolve something, or you're going to action something, or it can be the crutch word on why you haven't done it yet. Because in this definition, it says as soon as, and it says when. When are you going to do it? Well, once I get up, right? When are you going to do it? Once I get up, when I do this, or when you keep saying when, but when have got you all the way to the month of August. But that, false narrative that you created at the beginning of the year, what you call your resolution, and it's August and you still haven't done it. Because you've used that crutch word so much, the action behind it has yet to take place. Because this may say as soon as, but this one tells you at some time. Both of them are still used in the definition of the word once, but at some time. You're going to have to figure that out. You're going to have to acknowledge that I have used this word once far too long. I have used this word once too often. I have hid behind once. You're either hiding behind it out of fear, or you're hiding behind it because it is a comfortable place for you to be, or you're hiding behind it because you don't know what to do. That's when you're going to have to really be honest with yourself, because it's going to say as soon as. When are you going to do it? When? So behind the once. Have you ever hid behind once? That's an honest question, which you can put inside the chat. If you have, just say me. Or if you want to expound on behind the once for you, put that into the chat, because it may actually possibly expose that thing that hinders you from getting it done. Because you're hiding behind the once. Because hiding behind the once can impede your travel. So this past night, I was asleep, of course. And I don't know what the true nature of the dream was about, but for some reason I kept seeing 3 letters, and it said YID. And I'm sitting there like, what in the world does this mean? And it was like, it just began to flip in so many different directions of YID. And in my mind, I was like, what is this? Like year-end discount? I mean, like, what is this? But it began to unfold itself, because when you're hiding behind the word once, that means you are really not allowing yourself to discover yourself, because you're hiding behind once. How can you discover what you can do if you hide, or continue to hide behind the once? Once can hinder you from being great. Once can hinder you from fulfilling your passion. Once can hinder you from accomplishing that goal, because you're hiding behind once. YID had begun to take shape and evolve in so many different ways. The first evolution of YID for me, it had begun to say a year-end discovery. So where are you at in your discovery? I can tell you where we are in the year. This is August. So where are you at in your discovery within your year? You can't create or recreate the concept or the conversation of your resolution, but you have to discover that you have yet to complete it. You have created goals for yourself, and here it is, August. The year is about to close out, but you have yet to discover the who that you are because you're still hiding behind the once. And then the YID have flipped letters and inverted itself, and it says DIY. Do it yourself. Why are you waiting for someone to do that thing that you know that you have been born to do, or you know that you are creative enough to do, but yet you're hiding behind the once? Because remember, let me go back real quick. Remember, in this definition, it said in the past and formally. So in the past and formally, you cannot hold on to what happened in your past. You're going to have to do it yourself in order for you to make your future actually happen. Stop holding on to the former you and look at the you that you are right now in the present and do it yourself. Because when you do it yourself, you're holding on to the lessons that you learn in order for you to will yourself to make it happen. And then the other inversion was IYD. Because when you begin the process of doing it yourself, you're going to have to begin to innovate your drive, right? That thing that you got inside of you to create something new and to develop something different. It is going to give you that much more energy in your drive. It's going to allow you to get to where you want to go and stop hiding behind the once and facing it head on and actioning it. Because your discovery will yet to be discovered until you come from behind the once. And then the other inversion of the I and the Y of the D, it came out to be you have to begin to discover your influence. Right? Because once is like a shelf, right? So it's like a shelf that you've put your dreams and your goals on, and you've had conversations with yourself, and you put that thing on the shelf because you have yet to reach up and grab it because it looks good. Once make it feel real good to you, right? Because you can say, once I retire, I'm gonna do this. Okay, bet. You've retired, now what? Once I lose this weight, I'm gonna do that. Okay. Just once you lose this weight, right? And that's the same once that you said, once I start my diet, I'm gonna do this. And you're still hiding behind that crutch word of once. Once I start my diet, all right, sure. Once I lose this weight, right. Once I retire, I will, yeah, okay. Once I have this baby, yeah, all right. And you're still waiting because you're still hiding behind the once. You haven't achieved that thing that you wanted to achieve because you're hiding behind the once. That goal will not be accomplished because you're still hiding behind the once. The dream will never take shape. It will never be manifested into a physical form because you're still hiding behind the once. So the thing that we have to understand is that your kids don't eat off of once. Your goals aren't fulfilled off the once. Your passions are not moved by your wants. You have to move from behind the ones if you're ever going to reposition yourself, to put yourself in a place that is going to allow you to accomplish the things that you say that you wanted to accomplish because you're still living in the former you. I don't care if you scored 5 touchdowns when you was in high school. What are you doing right now? What are you doing with the talent that you've had? Are you pouring that into somebody else? Are you teaching someone else what you've learned a long time ago? What does the present look like for you? Because I can 100% sure understand what your past was like because you're still living in the once. Man, once I make my first $1,000, yeah, okay, you still owe taxes you ain't pay back. You still owe that person $100 that you walk past, that you try not to see them because you owe them. You have debt that you didn't pay, but you saying once I get this, you've had it 4 times over. So how long are you going to hide behind that once? Once make things sound so easy. It make things sound like you're convincing yourself that it's going to take place because you're using the crutch word of once. So when you convert once into I can, the I will, and I must, you can move or remove yourself out of the shadows, right? And because you can remove yourself out of the shadows of once, it could actually begin the process of making it happen for you. Because you're not hiding behind once. That is not your crutch word. Your word now has changed into your will, into your must, into your can, not once. So I'm going to flip it and I'm going to ask you, have you ever once thought about what would happen if you've never accomplished your goal? What would happen if you've never worked towards your passion? Your goal may actually be waiting. Somebody may be waiting on you to accomplish that goal because it may feed thousands of people. It may begin to help hundreds of people. It may help that one person if you have thought about it once to say, maybe I need to forgive that person. Just once. Come from behind that once and say, I need to apologize to you because you know what? It's time. But hiding behind the once, man, I remember that one time. Okay, bet. How long are you going to hold on to that? You doggone close to 50 and you still holding on to that one thing that happened formally, but coming from behind the once could bring about something new because you have acknowledged that you have been holding on to that for a long time. All right, that's enough. But hey, you don't have to hide behind once. Work on it, work towards it, create it, recreate it, and just make it happen. Remove yourself behind once. Do not use once as your crutch because it is not beneficial to you in the long run. But face it and do something about it. Discovery happens after you remove yourself from behind once. You can discover how strong you really are when you stop saying that once I blah, blah, blah. Just make it happen. And I promise you, consistency in that muscle that you're creating and no longer hiding behind once. Now you can acknowledge it and say, you know what? I've been using once for a long time. Today is my day to change it and to do something about it and to execute. And then be consistent in doing that. And I guarantee you something will change for you because you acknowledge that you've used once far too long. All right. Y'all be blessed. Peace.